So today's show is going to be really interesting. You don't want to miss it. I have taken all my 10 years worth of experience in building PCs to be used with vMix, and I have crammed it into one, what I consider a tiny PC that is going to be priced under $2,000, including the vMix license. Includes 4-port capture card, all the goodies. I'll explain it all today. Well, I'll explain it all in just a few minutes on today's show. So hang on, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
On YouTube for all the latest at IBC and all the latest features coming to our great cameras here. And Tess, is there anything else that we can wrap up with here before we say goodbye? We want to share your vision. Yes, absolutely. So here at BC Optics, we do something called share your vision. So if you go to your social platform of choice, you can hashtag share your vision and just share your. Big shout out to Sideline Power for sending and sharing your vision. And remember, if you have any sort of setup up there, anything, sports, education, house worship, whatever it is, show us how you're using DC Optics. We will love to share it here on the show. And yeah, please let us They're stuck, but it's gonna be easy to get them out. Yep, check, make sure. Yeah, that's it. Good to meet you. Ah, yeah, we'll be right after you. We're gonna. Right. All right. Okay, just put it in reverse, no gas. All right, start the brake off. All right.
There we go. There we go. There we go. Hello, Michael. Welcome. Hot. The last summer evening, just over 20 degrees Celsius. Let me do the quick 20 Celsius to Fahrenheit, 68 degrees. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. We haven't had that yet. Maybe we'll get there. Rich says, are you using AV1 to send to YouTube? Yes. I'm asking because my TV cannot play your live stream thing. Cannot play your live. Same thing happened with vMix Funtime live show yesterday. Huh. I have not seen that. Yeah, my focus is out, Ken. I don't know why that would be the case. I don't have any problems watching it on, well, let me just throw it up on my TV here. We need a tab. Throw it up on the TV. Oh, it probably, yeah. How are you just watching it through YouTube? Is it a YouTube app on your TV? Is it, let's see here. Yeah. I mean, I can put a browser window on my TV and it works fine, but it could be an app issue. You may need to update your app. Let's see. PTZ focus. Set the autofocus on. I had the, what do you call it, focus? Well, maybe that's not the autofocus. There we go. Is that better? I was trying to get a depth of field thing going, but it it doesn't work as well. So yes, my focus is correct now, Ken. Thank you. And congratulations to Spangler. You guys celebrated what, your 300th anniversary or something like that? Wow. Ken works for Spangler Candy Company, which is, of course, the home of the Dum Dums, one of the semi-official candies of Streaming Idiots, of course. And yeah. Hello, Jesper. Glad to have you. Glad you're here with us today. It's going to be interesting. Rich is going to test another format this weekend, the Roku TCL YouTube app. Yeah. It may be that the YouTube app has not been updated since YouTube started doing AV1. I don't know. I mean, I've been doing AV1 since vMix first beta came out. Not waiting. The last thing I want to be accused of, Ken, is to be out of focus. I want to focus. There we go. Yeah. You know, it's funny how the different apps work and where they work. Excuse me for the squeaky chair. Let's lock that in. That'll help. And you know, you change one thing and you don't realize the ripple effect that it may have. Mostly unintended. You know, it can be as simple as a Windows update. You remember there was that Windows update, what was it, 7 or 8 years ago, that disabled most webcams on the planet. I had people calling me right and left, my webcam stopped working. And after a couple days, kind of the global community was able to figure out which Microsoft Windows update it was. And let me turn that down. That's the ring notification. And we'll be hearing that all day. Okay, we'll try to put that to sleep, make it go to bed. And finally, you know, somebody figured out what Windows update it was by number. And, you know, we went in and everybody uninstalled that one and our webcams came back. pretty fun. Pretty fun. All right, in an upcoming show, could you take the magic out of using the mix windows? The mix input. Well, no, because to me it is magic. Well, I mean, the way I use it, what Michael's talking about is there is an input in vMix called mix. And you don't get to it through the normal add input button. You get to it through the little teeny arrow button next to the add input button. And what the mix does is it brings up a teeny little mixer with a preview and an output. So two different inputs can be there. And you'll see both of them side by side in the input, but only one of them actually is output, the one that is in the output window. And I use it because it what's the right word? It collapses all the different layers that might be going on in an image. For example, if I wanted to take this graphic right here and me, and I wanted to crop it by doing this, well, I'll show you. Here, let's go. Let's just go into, we'll have a desktop capture here. There we go. So we'll go into this one right here. And let's just put it right up here so you can see it. And if I go to layers, and then I'm going to take, well, let's go to position and do main. And let's say I want to crop starting from the left side here all the way across. Whoops, let's grab that thing again. There we go. And I've cropped it, but it hasn't really had any effect. Well, it's probably because, yeah, this camera right here is the one. So you can crop me out, but let's collapse this for a second. We'll come down here to the bottom left-hand corner, add input, and we'll go to mix. And we'll take, and that one ended up down here. And so we'll do the output is number 5, the pre-show right there. So we'll take that and we'll put that in preview just so you can see it. So it's in preview now. It didn't change anything, but it's in preview. But I can go into the settings for mix. And if I, let's see, layers, I don't want any layers, so I want to go to position main. Now I can crop the whole thing because it's flattened. All the layers are combined together. And that's how I use the mix. There are lots of other ways to use it. That's the way that I've used it, and it works for me. So that's the magic. Michael says he can't figure out how to use it properly. Oh, you wanted to know how to use it properly. Oh, well, that's a whole different thing altogether. Properly, oh, geez. Yeah, there are lots of ways to do it. I mean, like vMix, there are lots of tricks where you put features together that vMix never intended for things to work the way that we're trying to work them. Hello, William, from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And it's the bear, Dan Slider from Michigan. Welcome back. He's come out of the woods. He's like what was that Mountain Man movie with Robert Redford? And he wanted to be a mountain man. Yeah. Welcome. Good to see you. We're going to get a show here shortly. And back in 2016, was it, Dan? 2016, 2017. This is an X-Keys XK80. It was NAB that year in the spring. And Dan had placed one of those at the vMix booth just to help vMix out. And, you know, and it helped X-Keys out too. And it came time to put away all the gear, and Dan came over to get it. And he's like, here, take this. I'm like, wow, Wow, that was a highlight of my NAB. But Dan, it has been retired in favor of the latest, greatest XBE 96 with RGB lighting. Yep, yep. So, yeah, Jeremiah Johnson. That was the name of the movie. That's right. That's right. So, welcome, Dan. It's good to, well, I won't say it's good to see you, but it's good to be seen by you. How about that? I hope you're doing well and enjoying all those grandchildren and all that fame and fortune. Yeah, we know how that goes, don't we? Yep. I'm up to 4 grandkids now. I'm happy. I'm running out of arms for them though, but that's okay. Some of them are big enough they can take care of themselves. Yep. Yep. The good old X keys. I tell you what, the only way to take them out of service is to retire them because I haven't been able to break one. It just doesn't happen. Dan was the sales manager, or was it marketing director? One of the two at X Keys for years and years and years, and really is to be credited with bringing X Keys into the broadcasting world. Did a marvelous job of doing that, and we now, Dan, we now include an XK24 with all our new PC purchases. Yep. Just because it needs to be there. There you go. Dan is up to 4 granddaughters. Oh my gosh. And director of marketing, of course. Yes, you're good. You're good. Yep, they miss you. They miss Maggie too. I mean, they haven't said that, but how can you not miss you guys? So the bicycling, yes, the bicycling is it's an electric bike, Michael. So it's not like it's the kind of thing that is going to be a lot of exercise, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, we hope to be doing some traveling and taking the bikes with us so that we can do the bike thing when we get there. One of my sons and 2 of my grandsons lives down in St. Petersburg, Florida. And in St. Pete, they have this amazing bike trail that goes for dozens and dozens and dozens of miles, maybe over 100. And I think it extends up the coast of Florida and down the coast of Florida. This is the west coast, the Gulf of Mexico side. And so I can't wait to go over there and ride those trails, and we'll pedal some. But helmets is on our list of things to get now so that we don't get any dizzier in the head than what we already are. Well, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Sit tight. I have an X Keys button for this. Yes, indeed. Love that. I love that. Thanks so much again to Martin Kay for making that intro and the corresponding outro that goes with it years and years and years ago. I love it. It is just, it's so wacky and eccentric that it's perfect, don't you think? I think so. Anyway, today's going to be an interesting show because I have been working on a secret project for the last year and a half, maybe 2, maybe longer than that. Basically, I've been building PCs for vMix, not for the vMix company, but for clients using vMix. And so it ends up being a vMix PC. I've been doing that for 10 years. And it's been a lot of fun. And every day I learn something new. And I decided, we need a PC that, number one, is priced where you don't have to have a huge budget to afford it. And I'm thinking like a smaller church, school studio, maybe a personal studio, um, somebody that's got a sports team that they want to do live stream for, and then they want to be able to do other things with it besides just live stream. I mean, you can take a laptop out to a venue and get a half decent live stream out of that. But this is thinking, we want to have multiple cameras. So I'm thinking, okay, multiple cameras, fairly small footprint, inexpensive, but it's got to have the right stuff. It's got to have the NVIDIA graphics card. It's got to have solid state drives, at least 2 of them, one for the operating system and programs, and one for the, whatever you call that other stuff is, the recordings. Yeah. And it's got to be able to do, graphics and videos and all that stuff. It's got to be able to stream and record. It has to be able to do NDI. Virtually everything does NDI. It needs the flexibility of plugging in to hardwire internet or doing Wi-Fi. Now, Wi-Fi is never first choice, but I'll tell you, I've been live streaming at my church using Wi-Fi I did it for 8 years on Wi-Fi. Wasn't first choice. It was just, we couldn't string a cable through the sanctuary. And so we had to use Wi-Fi. And sometimes it was great, and sometimes it was not as great, but we survived and are still surviving. So we've got, a good price. We've got all the right features, and I kept trying out different combinations of CPUs and GPUs and RAMs and this and that and the other. And finally, and I've been long-term an Intel guy. But when vMix finally kind of cracked, they had a fissure. They shook up the world and they said, you can use a Ryzen CPU. And I said, not me, buddy. I'm an Intel guy. I'm an Intel guy. And then I realized, that's sort of stupid. Intel hasn't done anything for me. I mean, they make great CPUs, but but they haven't, they didn't take me out to lunch, anything like that. So I says to myself, let's try a Ryzen CPU. So I got one, and I got it based on price, number one, and also features. It needed to be fast, and it needed to have a ton of cores, and it needed to be priced under $50. Well, I couldn't find that one, but I was able to find the Ryzen 5 3600. Make notes, Ryzen 5 3600. That's what I'm using, the Ryzen 5 3600. And I think it has a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz. Now that's pretty healthy. That's pretty healthy. And vMix likes gigahertz. It will take as many gigahertz as you can throw at it. I think it might even like gigahertz more than it likes cores, because you can't divide some projects up into 23 pieces or 24 pieces for 24 cores. There just aren't that many ways to do it, but you can speed up the processing. So this guy's got, maxes out at 4.2 gigahertz, and has 6 cores, 12 threads. So it's got a lot of horsepower to it. But it's a budget CPU. And I said, okay, let's test it. So I've been testing it for about 6 months, throwing different projects at it, using it as a test bench. When I get a system that comes in, I've gotten one, I think, probably one that came in the last 6 months, had a bad video card. I popped it into this system to see if the card would work, and of course it didn't. And I've tested out some other combinations of cards or capture cards, video cards or capture cards, and drives. And I hit upon a combination that I think is going to work out pretty well. I've got one behind me. I'll show it off to you in just a second. In fact, it's running the vMix over my shoulder. And so it's got that Ryzen 5 3600 CPU. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, which of course is the optimum for vMix. You can put more, but vMix doesn't use more. The only reason to put more would be if you're going to use the machine for video editing or something like that. It's got 2 SSDs. It's got a 256 gig SSD as the main drive, and that's really all you need for operating systems, software, that kind of stuff. And then it's got a terabyte solid state drive as the recording drive, which is perfect. The way I've got it set up right now, it's got a 4-port HDMI capture card in it, but that can be subbed out for a 4-port SDI capture card. Now these are not the Blackmagic, so they're not going to be bi-directional. It's an inexpensive, what I would call an OEM card. But again, that was, we're trying to squeeze the budget here, and so we have to do what we have to do in order to squeeze the budget. So it's got an OEM card in it. The 3 things I guess that I've done, well, yeah, I mean, vMix says okay to use a Ryzen CPU, so we did that, the AMD. They say 16 gigs of RAM, got that. And I've got an NVIDIA graphics card. I think it's not a high level card. It's like the 1650, but it will do everything we need it to do for 4 ports of HDMI or 4 ports of SDI, switching, recording, streaming. It will handle all of that just fine. No problems there. Now it's not going to be 4K, but it'll do HD, 4 channels of HD, no problem. Been testing it, no problem. And we're also using a wireless keyboard and mouse combo, so there's not a lot of cables involved. We do have it set up for Wi-Fi. It's got a motherboard that's got Wi-Fi built into it, so there's the Wi-Fi option for the times when say you're taking it to a sports venue and there's no hardwire, but you've got a good Wi-Fi signal. In fact, the very first live stream I did years ago was on Wi-Fi. That was back in 2007, 2008, something like that. So Wi-Fi is doable. What else? The case has got a lot of ventilation, so you can put it just about anywhere. It'll sit up as a mid tower. Or let me show you. Do we have a camera on that thing? Yeah, we got a camera on that. Let's see. Let's come back to that. Okay. And we'll just take this off for the second. There we go. So let me slide on back here. Yeah, I am in the picture. There we go. Okay. So this is the unit. It's got plexiglass on one side. So you can, I don't know why you would want to see everything that's inside it, but that's the way the case came. Got 2 USB ports, on-off switch, microphone, headset, reset. And then here on the back, it's got, again, Wi-Fi and 2 2.0 USB ports and 4 3.0 USB ports. And then has, for the monitors, it's got HDMI, DVI, and or DisplayPort, and you can use all 3. And then here is the 4-port capture card, 600-watt power supply, and tons of ventilation. The front is, somebody had fun using their drill here. Let's see if we can see that in the picture. Yeah, there we go. Lots of ventilation here, goes straight through. Got ventilation in the bottom. The same thing is on the top, except a little wire screen to keep critters from crawling in, I guess. I mean, the same thing on the bottom, and then the same thing on the top. And it has a little mat here. It actually comes with 2 mats. One of them is ventilated. This one's ventilated, and the other one is not, so you could put your coffee cup on top of that or something like that. Yeah, pretty neat, pretty small form factor. This is probably 8 inches wide. What is that? Maybe 14 inches tall, and then about 14 inches deep. So it's not real big, and it's not real expensive. That's the whole idea. The whole idea is that we could do all this for 1995. 1995. Now, I remember back in the day when there was a car called the Ford Maverick that sold for 1995. But 1995 was a lot more money back then than it is today. So for under $2,000, you can do a personal studio, a school studio, a sporting streaming PC, something for your small church. Yep. And I think we'll probably try to make up a bundle with this and a couple of PTZ cameras, HD PTZ cameras, probably from PTZ Optics, so that you can get a good start on this. Yeah. Now, Jono Knutson says, Tom, you have bigger problems if you're needing to live stream where critters might crawl into your vMix rig. You haven't seen my studio. Yes. You just never know. That's why they call it finding a bug in the system. The original one was actually literally a bug. So that's the plan. If you know somebody that would benefit by this, refer them to the video or just give them my name or number or website or whatever. And we'll see if we can't help them. I mean, the whole idea, I'm going to continue to build custom systems. There's no doubt about that. I've got 3 working right now. But the thought was, let's try to make something that's, really intended to help folks on the bottom end. And I've seen some folks out there. I mean, I get emails all the time from people wanting to sell me their PC systems. I guess my name's on an email list somewhere. And I look through the specs of what they're selling and the price of what they're selling it for. And I'm going, this is not a budget system, or at least it's not a budget price. Might be a budget system, but it's not a budget price. One came in the other day and said, yeah, it was, what did it say? It was $24.99. Oh, and then you have to add vMix. and then you had to add a second drive. And I'm thinking, well, you go add all this stuff. It ended up being like $34.95 or something like that. I said, no. I mean, that's what we sell our full-blown systems for on our website, $34.95, $35.95, something like that. But this is intended at a lower audience, an audience that's lower on the economic scale. Let me put it that way. It's going to work just as well, but it's in the systems that are on our high-end scale come with a 3-year warranty, unlimited tech support. This one's going to come with a 1-year warranty, bumper-to-bumper warranty, and 1 year of tech support. So there are some what do you call it? Some allowances for the lower price. We're not going to provide a bumper-to-bumper warranty on it for as long as we would otherwise, but we'll still offer great tech support. Great tech support. Yep, that's it. That didn't take any time at all to talk about. But you'll still be able to do a mix, Michael. It won't have instant replay. I mean, you could, and I wouldn't want to. I haven't tested instant replay on this machine. I might, but I would not recommend to someone that they use this for a replay machine. Now, if somebody's going to do replay and do a live stream broadcast, this would make a great machine on the broadcasting end and put in a machine with more horsepower to do the replay end, kind of split it between 2 operators between 2 machines. But I wouldn't attempt to stream record and do the replay on this guy. It's just not, it's not intended for that use. It's intended for a studio or a sporting arena or of some kind. Yeah. If you wanted to put this into place and use it to live stream, maybe it was a hockey arena and you want to throw a live stream onto the video board, and then you want to live stream and record it too. Yeah, it'll do that, but I wouldn't count on it to do the replay portion of it. It's just doesn't have the horses for that. Not designed for that. Anyway, enough of this. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited to bring it to the table after working on it, here and there and in the shower and figuring out the best way to put it all together and make it affordable. So yeah, there you go. There you go. So what else is going on here? We've got one of our good customers out in Texas that does rodeo. We've built numerous systems for that, and their last rodeo, I guess last week or so, they called and said, you know, we think the rodeo dust has gotten into these guys. Send them back. I said, I'll clean them up and fix them up, send them back to you. So they're here waiting for me to get to them. I've got one that we're building for a university in Oklahoma for their sporting program. That's over there and is about 90% done. We've got another one over here going to a school system, and it is 99% done. And then another one behind it that is, well, it's in pieces right now. We're waiting for one more piece to come in, one more component. Typically, we keep most of these components on hand, especially the builds that we do over and over and over again. We keep all that stuff on hand so that we can turn it around pretty quickly. We do require that folks pay us in advance, but sometimes it takes a while to process a check, or in the case of this major university, they're going to send us the money to our bank account, but it's going to take them 12 days to do that. Well, we can have the PC built, and by the time we get the money, we ship it the next day. So it doesn't hold them up in that sense. So it's nice to be able to do that. Let's see what other projects. One of the projects that are really fun. I've got 3 boys, and one of my boys, my middle boy, is a gamer, and he's a dad now too. We'll see how that works out. So I built him a system a couple of years ago, and let me start at the beginning of the story. He and his wife are gamers, and so they bought a couple laptops that they wanted to use to game, and of course, they fried them. I think they ended up going back for warranty a time or two, and finally, one of them seemed to limp along okay, and the other one was just toast. And the place they bought it from was going to let them return it. So I said, return it, and whatever money you spent on that, give to me, and I will build you a fire-breathing gaming PC. 3080 Ti graphics card, all that stuff, and took it down and fired it up. And they loved it. Well, I should have known better than to bring one. I should have brought 2. So I got the call a couple of weeks ago. Dad, would you mind building another one, because this other laptop's not keeping up and it's not fair? And it's like, oh, okay. All right, so we'll do that. So I'm beginning to get the piece parts in for this next one. So Danielle, if you're watching, your system is in the works, and we'll be going down to visit with them before too long. Yeah, it'll be good stuff. It'll be good stuff. And what else is going on here? Holy cow. The university's getting an X-Keys XK64 replay controller. And whenever we sell those together as a bundle, we'll make sure that the vMix side of it is already set up with all the shortcuts, and then we'll go ahead and initialize the X-Keys64 so that it's ready, and all the backlighting is turned off and that kind of thing. And then we'll mark a particular port on the system so that it'll always use that same port to plug the X-Keys in, if it ends up being something that ends up going on the road. Sometimes people take, does this ever happen to you? You unplug something and you think, that's no problem, it's just USB, I'll just plug it right back in. And then when it comes time to plug it right back in, oh golly, I don't remember which port it was in. Oh, well, it probably doesn't matter. Well, it does. At least with vMix it does, because vMix is looking at that port and it's expecting to find that device, whatever it is, whether it's X-Keys or audio or whatever it might be. It's expecting to find that device on that port. It's not just sort of searching around for whatever signals might come in from the universe. No, it's looking for particular information. So make sure right after this show that you go out and label all your cables, where they're coming from, where they're going to, and what they are, right? You'll do that right after the show. I haven't even done that, although I've done about half of them. I'll do it. And the Ethernet ones are the ones that that I had to do the most. I try to use different color Ethernet cables, but I've got 9 Ethernet cables going right here. Actually 10, 11. Yeah, one of them goes to the switch, so that's the odd one. And then 2 of them go right now to that StarTech 4-port Ethernet card that I showed off based on what John Mahoney did a month or so ago. And I'm still using that for 2, but that leaves me 2 open slots in my switch. But all the cables are different colors, or most of them are, and then some of them are marked with tape. I've got 3 blue cables, and one of them is just blue on both ends. One of them has got a pink tape on one end, on both ends, and the other one's got orange tape on both ends, and that helps. I don't always know where it's going to, unless I look around the studio and, oh yeah, there's something right there with orange tape on it, so that must be where it's going. But I don't have my USBs, my HDMIs and my SDIs connected like that. I just have to guess. So do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, but the old Dymo label maker is a great thing to have around, and allows me to go ahead and label up all of these PCs that we build, so at least you'll know what to plug in where, and then it's up to you to mark your own cables. I was talking to a client, to Rick, the other day. Rick, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. And he's like, Tom, you mean I got to get down below this desk and look at these cables? I don't want to go down there. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I know where those places are. That's where all those little critters are. Yeah. All right, well, let's wrap this up. I'll take your questions. We'll go into the post show. Be right back. All right. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear y'all's feedback on that system. Any suggestions you might make. So no bruises on the riding. That's right. We're protecting our heads. We're getting helmets for the bikes. Not sure what we can do about our backs. Probably not fall. What was it? I told my oldest son that we'd gotten some electric bikes and we were going to be riding around. He's like, promise me you'll get helmets. Well, of course. I mean, I'm the one that made you wear a helmet when you were 12 years old and you didn't want to wear it. Not that I don't want to wear it, but I'm trying to find some of those helmets that have the intercom built into them, so the helmets communicate with each other, like a Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth or something. And so when I noticed it when Sandy and I were biking the other night. She's in front of me, so she's facing forward. She can't turn around or she'll run off the road. And so I'm like, can't hear you, dear. Stop and wait. And let me catch up with you. She said, I just wanted to let you know I was going to stop up here. So we figured that out. Yes, it's fun. You have bigger problems if you're needing to live stream where critters might crawl in. Well, hey, anything can happen, Jono. Anything can happen. The very first live stream I did, no, the second one, I was at a venue where I was using, I bought this really cool Dell computer I was going to use for my live stream. It had, get this, it had a dual core, not a single core. It had a dual core processor. Man, I was in heaven. I was going to be able to stream at 480p with no problems. This is great. I couldn't wait. And so we did it. We were going to do Friday night, Saturday, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. So went down there, set up Friday afternoon, and did the Friday night gig. And I thought, I'm just going to leave this here. We can put it under lock and key. And they gave me a key to the press box. And so I turned it off and came back the next day. Well, it had gotten really cold overnight. Like, I don't know, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. What's that Celsius? Like 8? I don't know. And so the system was cold. And I went to turn it on, and it came up, but it wasn't running. And I noticed inside, because I took off the top just to make sure everything was all right, and all the little chips had moisture on them. Like, oh no. So I turned it off, unplugged it, tried to dry everything off best I could, kind of got a fan on it. Thank goodness I took my laptop with me down there. So we plugged the laptop in and streamed the Saturday morning soccer games with the laptop. And by afternoon, my big powerful dual core PC had dried off and acclimated enough to turn on and run. And that's when I realized, don't turn it off. So it ran that night, came in Sunday morning, everything was fine. We live streamed all day. The PC here, my live streaming PC, I never turn off. I mean, I'll restart it from time to time, just because I think you need to do that. And when I do my updates, of course, I'll restart it. Whenever I update the graphics card, I'll restart it. Those kinds of things. But otherwise, it runs 24/7, which also means that I can get into it from anywhere in the world. I can remote in and be able to do that. But the studio here, it's not uncommon to find a little critter running around. I mean, my landlord has pest control come through, I think once a month, and we'll see a couple of them belly up on the floor, sweep them up, put them in the trash can. But it wouldn't surprise me if there were critters in here. I mean, when was the last time, for those of you that have PCs that are on the floor, when was the last time you looked inside that case to see what was on the bottom of that case? Spiderwebs, maybe? You don't know. You never know. Michael says, last summer, some got into his screen between the front glass and the LE screen. Oh, yeah, that happened to an old TV of mine. It was a termite. It was a termite that crawled in between the LED screen and the front glass. And it looked like a termite. So that can happen. It can happen. It can happen. Oh, Jono's covering the flea circuses. I like it. I like it. You can't get one by that Dan Slider guy. He's sharp as tacks. He's sharp as tacks. Okay. Michael Quist wants to know, is a Mi.2 too expensive for the budget PC? Actually, the main drive is an M.2 NVMe SSD. So it mounts right on the motherboard. So it reduces the amount of time by, hundredths of nanoseconds between the communication of the drive and the CPU and the RAM, as opposed to doing something that's SATA based. Now the recording drive is a SATA drive, a SATA SSD, but that's fine for the recording part. We just wanted to have as much pop and be as responsive as it could be on the system part of it. But the recording's just fine. SATA is plenty fast enough to that. Yep. Jono says, I've seen a few shows where you talk about the NVIDIA 3000 series. What are your thoughts about the 3000 versus the 4000 series? Well, since you asked, Jono, Um, just recently, I'm trying to figure out who it was. Oh, it was Alan Bunt. Um, I I made a system for Al at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, and Al's going to be on the show here in a couple of 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not sure, we haven't quite got it scheduled yet, but I built him a new system and I wanted him to have a chance to integrate it, and then we were going to do a show and he was going to show it off. I think this is the third, maybe the fourth system that his church has purchased from us in the last 12 years or more. Anyway, so I pitched him a 3080, no, excuse me, a 3070 or a 4060. And in the vMix world, the most important thing, or at least it used to be the most important, I think it's still the most important rating or stat to a graphics card is something called the CUDA core. This is not like the Barracuda car, the CUDA, but it's spelled the same way, C-U-D-A. And the more CUDA cores you got, the more vMix horsepower a graphics card has. And it used to be, you know, some of the graphics card, what was it? One of the first, oh, it's one that I'm still using at the church. Still using at the church. It is a GeForce GTX 750 Ti. 750 Ti. It was a Ti version. And it had, like, you know, 3.5 CUDA cores or something ridiculous like that. I'll have to look it up and see. Well, let's just look up and see how much it has. GTX 750 Ti CUDA cores. Yeah, Google came up and said release date. I was like, yeah, that would be last century. And we'll look up the NVIDIA website for the 750, and it has 640 CUDA cores. 640 CUDA cores, 64 times 10. Has a base clock of 1 gigahertz, a boost clock of 1.1 gigahertz, and a standard memory of 2 megs. So it's just basic. But we stream 1080p 60 using that card, and not using the card, but using the CPU, we're doing NDI, full NDI? No, NDIHX. But we're doing NDIHX on a Intel i7 2700K CPU, slightly overclocked. And that was really the one thing that kind of spurred me on to building this system back here. Is like, okay, well, if I can do that at the church with, you know, outdated GPU, outdated CPU, what can we do with something latest and greatest? So yeah. And this guy, I think his base clock is faster than I've got that one overclocked to. But back to the question that Jono asked about the 3000 versus the 4000 series. With Al Bunt's system, the 3070 had, I think, about 6,000 CUDA cores, and the 4060, one model year newer, but down lower on the scale, 60 versus 60, 70 versus 70, that kind of thing. And I think it had, I don't know, 4,900 or something like that. Plenty. But the biggest difference in my world, and the reason why I pitched it to Al the way I did, number one, the 4060 was a little bit cheaper, but it was fewer CUDA cores. But it had the AV1 chip. And that would allow him, being bandwidth restricted, to live stream to YouTube using AV1 at about half the speed that he'd previously been trying to stream. Or in his case, probably he's going to get a better stream for the same amount of bandwidth, because that AV1 encoding, which vMix has now in version 27, and the 4000 series RTX cards have, will allow you to, it takes more horsepower, but it crunches the stream down, whatever compression techniques it uses, so that it takes less bandwidth to send it across the pipe to YouTube in this case. I don't know of anybody else that's doing it for our type of live streaming. Now I know Netflix uses it, but Netflix is sending it to your TV or your laptop or whatever. They're encoding it, and then it's being decoded on your end without problem. Now, Rich said earlier he was having some problems getting this stream because he thought it was because it was AV1. That could be the case. He could just have an old YouTube app, because YouTube has updated that, because it's definitely to their advantage to excuse me, I've got tongue tied. It's definitely to their advantage to use less bandwidth, because they're paying for every penny's worth of bandwidth. So that being said, Jono, if I had a choice for a PC and for a video card, and AV1 was not an issue, I would go with the 3000 series, because I'm probably going to get more bang for my buck. I think when I priced it, the difference between the 3070 and the 4060 was only $100 more for the 3070. And so getting the AV1 was actually the cheaper route to go. And I don't think it really meant any less on their end in terms of what they could do or what they could expect. So that was a long way of answering that question. Holy cow. Gotta go. See you, Dan. That was 5 minutes ago. Sorry about that. Michael Quist, gotta go. Sorry about that. See you later. Jonas says, I'm going to have the build happening next week. Went with 4060 because of the AV1 encoding. I got Starlink here in Tennessee. I need to cut down on bandwidth requirements. Exactly the scenario. Exactly the scenario. Yep. I did, when vMix 27 first came out with AV1, I did a series of live demos with that. And I think where I actually stopped and started the live stream and changed the spec as I went along. And if you do it fast enough with YouTube, it keeps it all in one file. And I'll look those up. But at one point, we were able to do 1080p 60 at 5 megabits per second. Today, we're doing 1080p 60 at 8. Because I have the bandwidth, and I think it gives a little better stream. But we were able to do 5 without having any issues. Looked really good. And I was taking a lot of complicated graphics and then blowing them up to see how pixelated they got and that kind of thing. Massive upgrade. Yes, massive upgrade. Now, when you say dual 970s, you mean 2 NVIDIA graphics cards? Now, in a gamer's world, that's a good thing, but in a vMix world, that actually slows your performance, because vMix doesn't know how to use both cards well, so it uses one and then it uses the other, and then Martin explained it to me one time and it went right over my head, but he said, bottom line is, don't do it. 2 graphics cards are not better than 1. And I recently came back to that because Microsoft makes a graphics card. Isn't it Microsoft? No, maybe it's Intel that has the AV1 chip on it. The AV1 chip on it. And I thought, well, that's great. You know, that would make a great look, because the card was like $200. And I thought, you know, that would be a great, inexpensive live streaming GPU with AV1. But vMix is not programmed to take advantage of anything that's in that card. And so it was a bust. It was horrible. Not even, you know, I might go down the street on that one again another time in the future if vMix comes back to it, but not planning to. Interesting though, interesting. Machine is multi-purpose. Well, there you go. It's nice to have multi-purpose. Get it out, get the job done. Yeah, this one's multi-purpose. It live streams on Wednesdays, and then it gets used as a test bed the rest of the time. And it's sitting, let's see if I can show it to you. It's just sitting right over here to my right. And you've probably seen it before. Oop, too far. There we go. Yep, that's it. Not much. And it's sitting on an open frame platform so that it gets plenty cool. And I can add things to and fro plenty easy. 3 screens and a VR headset. But of course, VR just never really grabbed my attention. Never really grabbed my attention, but that's okay. That's okay. You know, you can't do everything. Can't do everything. Bare bones. There you go. See, I wouldn't know how to build a VR system. I wouldn't know what was important. But I can sure enough build a vMix system. Yep. Oh, look at the time. I got to go. Loved hanging out with you guys. Let's do it again. Let's do it next week. Can we do it next week? Yeah, we'll be here next week. I don't think we'll be here the week after that. I've got a gig down in Tampa, St. Pete, looking after a couple of grandsons. But y'all take care, and we will catch you on the flip side, as they used to say. If you've ever heard that phrase, that comes from the record industry. When you flip the record over, that was the flip side. All right. Laters, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching. white camera mount.